Well, this is a pretty cool opportunity. Just picked up a new bow, and it's the Mathews VXR, the 31.5 inch. I loved it last year for hunting. It shot really well. I had it in the woods within a day of receiving it, sighted in right away. Took it out, shot a nice buck. Then how my career goes in busy days, Chris B here, he shoots all the time. I don't. So I put it away for a little while. I hunted in the late season a little bit. But really, now that we moved to the new farm, I have the opportunity to shoot a lot more, which is what we're gonna do this afternoon. So Chris B is here, and we're collaborating. We're doing something for charity tonight together. And so it's a good opportunity to just shoot some videos together. And plus, you know, I used to shoot professionally back in the day, but I feel like an amateur. This is a true pro. So got the true pro in to help me today, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Because I need help.
You need a lot of help. No, I'm just kidding.
But this is a Mathews 31.5 VXR, and it's the UltraView. UltraView 2 sight, which back in my day, we didn't have something like this. And this is incredible. The first arrow that I put through it and looked down at the sight, looked down at the target, it was just, they said, what do you think? I said, it's beautiful. You know, I never got to look at something like this. So, but Chris, what do you think I need to work on this afternoon?
We'll see how you do. You've been doing all right at 20 and 30. We'll see how it goes maybe when we stretch it out a little bit farther. But
my goal is just to keep it on the target.
Yeah, no, I mean, like overall, form-wise and fundamentals-wise, it's solid.
It's the shake.
It's the shake, yeah. Need to get those reps in more.
And I want
that'll fix a lot of problems.
This bow, I'm curious to shoot it compared to the 28 and see what the difference was, because this one is awesome.
So that's
right
a
out of
big
the
difference in why like having the 28 and 31.5 is so vital, especially like in Mathews lineup, because you have so many guys that are all over the spectrum. You have whitetail guys that mostly will probably shoot the 28. You know, tree stand, ground blinds, it's short, compact, and you really don't have shots over 40 yards, you know?
Sure.
Then the 31.5, you know, even with the larger cams on it at full draw, it feels like a 32, 33, 34 inch bow, you know? So you got more like that target bow feel.
Right.
And which I really like. And I've shot the 31.5 quite a bit, and that's like what I'm using right now. Probably will use out west. And then when I hunt out of a tree stand, I'll probably even use a 28, you know, just switch it back and forth like that. Yeah,
well, I mean, it feels great right now. You know, and I'll set it up for target right now in 3D for the remaining part of the summer, but I really want to shoot indoors some more and shoot long distance outdoors. And I'll even probably throw on a long stabilizer this afternoon. That'll help balance it out a little bit better. But this is some old equipment, and then this is brand new, the bow, and then you have the sight here. But that sight, Anthony from Lacrosse Archery, that's where we're at right now. He told me it was probably from the late 90s. And I said, I'm pretty sure I bought it in 2000, but it's probably 99, 98, 2000.
99.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
It's solid though. It's actually, you know, sometimes going back to the roots of simplicity, because that is a very simplistic sight.
Oh, it is. Yeah, custom bow equipment.
They have a new rejuvenated sight similar to that.
Well, crazy to think that this target sight, which a lot of times there's these threaded rods that everything's moving on and everything's rattling and shaking and sticking out there a little bit further, but this is 20 years old, at least. Anthony says older.
Yeah, nearly as old as me.
He said 1923 earlier today, but I don't think it's that old. One of the things, the rest.
Yeah.
And that was what we found. You know, what were you telling me about the risers? I mean, a lot's changed since this site was around, and so my remedy was not your remedy.
No, it's not the proper remedy. But essentially, you know, like risers, and as we go through time with re-engineering and like how do you make a bow better, you know, we're like narrowing down the tolerances so much, like how do you make it better, you know, when you just made your best version last year. So bow risers have changed, and now they're, you know, like a Mathews riser is a little bit thicker than in the old days. So when we put the new UltraView 2 scope on, this barrel right here is like short, and it's too short. So we couldn't go any more to the right adjustment because we're getting too far to the left. So Jeff just moved his rest to the right.
Only, but you got to tell him though, it was only 15 clicks.
Only 15, yeah.
It was only 15 clicks.
You know, so right now your tune's not 100%. You know, if you shot that through paper, you'd definitely get a tear out.
And when we shot it first, it would be interesting. We'll go back and shoot through paper right now, but when I first shot it through paper, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Really perfect. And Chris didn't want to touch it after that, so I did though, because I just wanted to get it on sight here, and
for a quick fix, it'll do.
We could move this sight block on the other side, but then it's not squared off, so you don't have metal to metal. It's just 2 screws holding it on. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I might even convert this to my hunting bow this year, but
yeah, and
it's
really,
shooting awesome right now.
the 31.5, it's not bad taking it up in a tree stand or anything. But that's what's awesome about it is you have the availability to kind of have it as a target rig.
Right.
If you want to get one bow, let's say you do a little bit of 3D, you do hunting, and you want to do both with the same bow.
Yeah.
And you just switch the components on it, it's the bow to do that.
And I want to shoot indoors too. That was one of my favorite. That's such a discipline. If you can shoot well indoors and keep your form through it, then that repetition over and over. I shot a lot of blank bale back in the day too. This is one reason I like this, get this out of the way. This longer axle to axle was always good because back in the day when we had 42-inch axle to axle, this is a bad thing. Of course, safety vest on, now lifeline, everything. But when I'd get tired in the stand, because this was up here, it was really easy. Just lock yourself in, and you could just take a nap like that. I don't advise that, but that worked pretty well. But the longer axle to axle, and Dylan knows this, he sat in the tree with me a lot. But since the 90s, I've actually sat with my hunting bow on the platform like this.
Just like that.
Just like this when I'm hunting. And so,
you don't have a hook or anything? You don't like having a hook?
If I like the hooks, I mean, I'd have one right here, right in front of me,
Yep.
if I can. But we hunt out of, let's say we have 23 tree stands and a couple different properties or 3 different properties, and there's not always that hook. Sometimes you get there, I don't know if you ever gone there, and the hook is like, it's worn into the tree, so it wants to just spin.
Yep.
And you can't move it any further. So a lot of times, this is what I've done for years. Arrow's right there. It seems like you just fall right out. It only has once, and that was back in, I think, 1996. So 24 years later, 5 years later, it's not happened again.
Born yet.
I said we could, I might call this something like Mathews VXR amateur build.
Yeah.
And it's built by you, but I'm referring to myself as an amateur now.
Oh, right.
But we could say like old man VXR bow build, something like that.
Young gun teaches old man.
Yeah, new tricks. No, old washed up has been new tricks. But yeah, this was, so that longer axle to axle I might actually like in the tree stand for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it, I mean, I was used to shooting with, I think it was a 42-inch axle to axle.
With steel cables.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and everything was off.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
But now all the tolerances for all the bow companies, I mean, and just one more thing before we head out to the range, we'll go shoot this through the paper. We'll see how bad it is at this point with the 15 clicks. But one of the things that I like about the new bows, like you said, you know, how much the tolerances are so good, how much can they improve on it. But what they're improving on is the geometry. Some of the materials change, but a lot of things, the thicker riser, the more parallel limb design, the longer riser, they're getting more efficiency out of the bow. So that stored energy back in the day, there were lots of bows that would blow up. And you know, you always had it was a Ford, Chevy, Dodge type thing, but they were just stressing it so much. And so you had all this stored energy that was created with really radical cams. When the bow went off, not a lot of that energy went to the arrow. Right. And now there's so much more energy that goes to the arrow that every year it seems to be quieter, faster, and I'm not sure the stored energy is really changing that much with the materials. It might change a little bit, but they're so dang efficient now.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, it's like you keep, I keep going back to the analogy of the launch film a couple of years ago. They keep ripping a paper in half and in half and in half, and eventually you're down to like, you know, a tiny little, now we're making it this much better. But, you know, there is still a huge change year to year, and, you know.
And that's where, you know, I love the Triax, Vertex, the VXR, the Halons were awesome. But if you're going back to the Halons and some of those bows before, you know, I can see someone not wanting a new bow and they just bought one last year. It's tough times right now too. But then at the same time, if your bow model, if you're going back to the no cam and before, and even the Halons, there's a huge difference.
Huge difference, especially from the no cams and everything. And like even the 31.5 and the 28, the riser is like the biggest riser they've ever come out with in a hunting rig. Yeah. And what that does, it just dampens like crazy because you just have more, you know, to suppress all the energy and everything.
And the movable parts are the limbs, not the riser. So the more you make the riser, the more, you know, going back to the back in the day, we'll say the good old days, the old days, because you weren't even born yet, but the riser was, I would say, you know, 1/3 of the axle to axle.
Right.
And you had these big limbs that were fighting each other, and then they weren't machined properly because they didn't have those ability for the tolerances. So, but anyways, I can't wait to go shoot this long distance, and we'll try to keep it on the target, and we'll go shoot through some paper
I'm
too.
Curious to see what the tear's going to be like now.
It's a luxury having Chris in the house today too. So we're gonna shoot some other videos, and like I said, we have the charity event tonight here at Lacrosse Archery. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So cool, let's go. Hey, sorry to interrupt this video, but my web class series is finally begun. How to design your whitetail property is on my website, and there's a link in the description. Please check it out. I was gonna say it'll go off eventually.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's hitting a little, just, that's actually not too bad. Should let everyone know that these are gale force wind conditions, and so you have to kind of consider that when we're shooting, and the groups that we have and everything. Chris's are great groups, but you know.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, Chris, what do you think? We shot out to 100 yards anyways.
Yeah, no.
You forced me.
You volunteered.
I kept shooting arrows too.
Yeah, you had the ideas. No, it's good. It's windy out today, so we stretched it out to 100, and we both might have sent one or two, but
yeah,
we'll blame that on the wind.
Yeah, there's yeah, that sounds good. And no sight pin.
And no sight pin.
We're going off a bubble or scalp.
I had a pin. You didn't. You did very well, especially for just setting this bow up today.
Well, that's the thing that I want to stress to people. You know, a lot of people ask for specs. In mine's 27-inch draw, 85% let off. I'm using the 31.5 axle to axle. You think of anything else other than that?
Yeah, well, you know, for me, people always wonder draw length, weight, grain arrow, everything like that. So I run a little bit longer drive, 28.5, and right now I have a light arrow, so it's going to be right around just under 400, which is not ideal for this super windy condition. So like,
yeah, we're about the same. I think mine are 392, 393.
But I was talking, I haven't told you this yet, but we were just talking about arrows. I'm running a heavier for hunting, just for out west and everything. Running a little bit heavier arrow, especially dealing with this windy conditions, definitely helps. And a little bit skinnier. It's like a 4mm instead of a 5mm. You know, just every little thing that you can do to help you in like these windy type situations.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, we're about 50 arrows in, and this bow, it's, you know, and I have to tell you too, I'm biased. I've shot Mathews since 1992. I haven't changed manufacturer since then, and so I'm like kid in candy store still every time I get the new model out, and I can honestly say they improve them each time. And this one, jumping up to 31.5, I wanted to see, because I want to shoot this for 3D.
Right.
I want to shoot it for indoor. And now I have this beautiful Ultra View.
Yeah. No, it's a sweet scope, especially like you can just use it for anything. You know, you switch it around, you could put the hunting pin in it. You could do just a normal fiber just for out here or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. People have to know, I mean, we really just slapped this on this morning.
Yeah, we slapped it together.
We just slapped it on this morning. I have an old sight tape, and the sight tape's off. It's this bow is shooting slower than my old 3D setup from 20 years ago, and literally that's sight tapes from 20 years ago. Yeah. But so I had to add a little bit. When we were shooting 40, it was 42. At 30, it was 31. At 80, I think I shot 85, and 100, I just shot off the top of the bubble and closed my eyes and ripped it. So, but it was surprisingly, and most of the time the new bows I'm getting and I'm putting together and hunting with them the next day. so it's pretty easy to sight and set up. But
because they send them in, you know, right during hunting season. You got to put together, and you want to shoot.
And I want to get out right away.
Wait. Yeah.
I think I shot my buck last year within a week or something, but very easy to put together. And with the longer riser, highly recommend. It does hold like a target bow. Even in this, I mean, the winds are pretty bad. We're not just saying that, but even in the winds, pretty easy to hold.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate it. And I don't think that, so one thing, if you're gonna spin your rest the wrong way, you don't want your vanes high right, coming off that potential to hit a riser or something. But I sighted my old target bows in a little bit high left.
For a paper tune.
For a paper tune.
Yeah.
And that worked out. I used to be able to shoot really well, you know, real tight groups. Terrible way to set up a broadhead because it comes off and that broadhead wants to take it and plane it. And but for target arrow, that worked out for me in the past. We're about there right now. And I really do feel like the groups were pretty tight down there.
Yeah, I mean, typically when you set up a new bow, you paper tune it perfect to get it at neutral, and then you go from there. If you know you do long range group tuning, you move the rest around, and then if you went back, you know, you move the rest around, find your perfect spot, and you go back through the paper tuner, and it could be way off. And a lot of times you're right, that is a little bit high left. You're coming high and off of the rest. You don't want to be high and slapping into the riser.
Right.
But for broadheads, you essentially have fletchings on both ends of the arrow. You know,
you have to straighten it.
It's double the steering. So if you have, you know, your arrow's doing whatever, it's just going to be more affected. So especially fixed blades, you got to have perfect, you know, bullet hole, everything.
And that's where shooting the mechanicals came in. I shot rocket heads for 15 years, and that ended in 2010. So that's going back a long ways. But it was because I wanted to shoot my target setup, just throw the mechanicals on there.
Which is another reason why mechanicals are great, because, you know, if your bow has been set up 3 years ago and you're not sure about the tune, well, people can just put a mechanical broadhead on and they're not wounding deer.
Right.
That's a big thing. People throw on, you know, these fixed blade broadheads and never practice with them.
Yeah.
Go out to the tree stand and they're hitting like a foot to the right, you know. So
at 20 yards.
Yeah, at 20 yards. Like, seriously, it's that big of a deal. So,
you know what's interesting about that is Chris and I were talking broadheads just a little bit ago, and neither of us are sponsored by a broadhead company. And it's he asked me what I was shooting, and I'm like, you know, I've actually shot the Muzzy Trocar HBs the last couple of years, but every year it seems like I'm trying 2 or 3, and that's kind of the fun of it. They have to be accurate. That's the big thing. I do sometimes in the past, I've sighted it where it's 2.5 inches low and high or whatever, and I just make that adjustment. It's consistent. I want a little bit bigger cut. I've used some of the small fixed heads that fly better. Right. But then they leave. I used one that was just a little slit. It was a Carbon Express F15. Incredible penetration. They flew well, but it left. They left like about 1 inch hole sideways, and it wasn't that big hole. So I like somewhere in between. I like the hybrids, but at the same time, mechanical, fixed. You know, it doesn't matter too much.
You hit a deer with a field tip in the heart, it's going to die. You know, it's just which one fits your situation, what you're shooting best, I guess.
No, not a reason to fight over. Let's put it that way.
No, it's not.
Broadheads, which one to use, and
it's probably one of the most controversial,
crazy online
topics. Yeah,
but
don't go on Archery Talk.
Yeah, no. I'll stick to my own channel for discussion.
Right.
Well, I like this bow a lot. I actually, you know, we have your target scope on there. Again, we just put that on today. We just put the bow together this morning. But I like this bow a lot. I might take it out hunting this year. That might be my new hunting bow. But either way, it'll be this one or some version at 28.5 or whatever. But yeah, appreciate it. This is fun. Shooting together. We'll do some other stuff right now today too. We still got some time.
More videos to come.
Yeah, sounds good. I hope you like this collaboration together with Chris B and myself, and we'll have a few more to come.